large and important university, and I'm honored to be here, and I thank you for your hospitality. I should begin by saying a couple of words about how I became a geographer, because it leads to some advice I'd like to give to all of you. I know some of you are already following this advice, but some may not. My parents, particularly my dad, were in the wrong place at the wrong time throughout most of their lives. And I decided to rectify that by becoming a geographer. Geographers, as you probably know, think that they know the right place to be. And sometimes they're right, and sometimes they're wrong. But in any case, I came to the right place. As Dr. Jones pointed out, I went from Europe to Africa, and then from Africa to the United States, and you couldn't be in a better place than the United States of America, let me assure you. I've been to more than 100 countries, and there isn't anything like this one for all the errors it may at times make. But I should explain what happened to me and how I became a sort of a public geographer. My dad was in the Netherlands in the late 1930s, and of course there was a threat of war. The Germans, the Nazis, were about to take over most of Europe and start the Second World War. My dad could have left easily. My dad and mom were musicians. My father was a violinist, and my mother a pianist, and they were quite well known. And they could have gone to England, taken me away. I was 5 years old when the war started, but instead they stayed, figuring that the Netherlands might remain neutral. That was a mistake. And so came the war, and I was locked in a room most of that period, with books and a globe and atlases, and that's how I read my first bits of geography. And Dr. Jones made the mention of a Dutch geographer named Hendrik Willem van Loon. He was a great writer, and if you ever see a book by this fellow, Van Loon, take a look at it. He made sketches, cartoons, drew maps, but the most important thing from my point of view he did was, while we were literally, people around us were dying of hunger, he described countries that were in warm tropical climates where you could pick bananas and other fruits off trees and eat them and survive and then spend the rest of the day on the beach. What a place to be when you were in those tough European winters with the Nazis controlling the countryside. Well, came the end of the war, and I was sure I wanted to be like Mr. Van Loon. And then the best thing happened. I met a teacher, one of the great teachers I ever had, who was a geography teacher, who persuaded me not only that I want to write like this fellow Van Loon, but I wanted to teach like this fellow De Wilde, who I met at my high school.